The Lord made sure of everything when he made man, even so much as if he made sure that the garden was watered. And Adam didn't even have to do anything to it. This is Elder Adrian Heyman, and I'm welcoming you to another in a series of lessons on the book of Genesis. Right now we're on chapter 2. If you wish to see earlier sessions or lessons, you can go on Facebook under my name, Adrian Heyman. And if it's over 30 days, then you can then go to my YouTube page, Elder Adrian Heyman, which should have all of the videos that we've done up until today. And you should be able to find and catch up on whatever you wish to do. If you do that on YouTube, I'd like to ask you to, just if you like it, let me know. If you have any comments, make comments with it. And if you wish to subscribe, subscribing doesn't cost anything, but it does help the algorithms to allow this page to go up even further and maybe can be seen by more people. But other than that, let's go ahead to our lesson for tonight. And we know that at this time, the Lord had put Adam in the garden, and it was lush, had all types of trees and plants. Everything he needed for food was right there. Didn't have to want for anything. And if that's the case, then more than likely the weather was very temperate. Didn't get too hot, didn't get too cold. It felt somewhat cool during the evening, but not freezing. And in the daytime, pretty warm, but not scorching. And there was always the trees there to cover. So you can see it was just a wonderful place to be in. And with such a place like that, then how would you ensure that there was water there? Well, the Lord took care of that. And we will begin with verse number 10. Verse number 10 of Genesis chapter 2. And it says, and a river went out of Eden to water the garden. Now we understand that the Garden of Eden, it was a garden in Eden, not necessarily the garden that's called Eden, but there was a garden in Eden. So there was a place, there was a particular region, must have been pretty expansive, but the Lord made sure not to put man anywhere else but in the garden that was in Eden. As it says, and a river went out of Eden to water the garden. So there must have been some mountain ranges somewhere where the river arose, came down the mountain, went through Eden, which essentially, as I said, God knows how to prepare, and God knows how to make sure that his people are taken care of. And so in this case, he made sure that the water was sufficient. So a river came out of Eden, the bigger province or state or whatever you may want to call it, region, and it went through the garden. Now, after it went through the garden, it split into 4 heads. Now, this also lets me know that this particular river was not a small river. It was probably somewhat of a large one. Now, I want you also to think of this as well. There was probably a different type of geography during that time than what we see now. And the reason why I feel that way is because, as you may read in subsequent chapters of Genesis, there was a huge event that more than likely changed the course of many rivers when it was settled. And that, of course, is the flood. We can see that happening even today. There's certain rivers that they flow one way, then a particular event takes place, earthquake, landslide, flood, whatever, causes the river to change course. And where it went one way at one time, now it goes another way. The main thing is that the river is trying to get to the ocean. And however it can do it, it will do that. So understand that the geography of the earth may have been a bit different at that particular time than it is right now. And just so that to keep you on your toes, so to speak, it will be a different geography between now and when Jesus comes back to earth. So there have been cases where rivers, mountain ranges, other things have changed. It's bound to happen. But let's go back to Genesis. I can speak with that when we deal with Revelation, which we are also studying as well. But essentially, the river that arose out of Eden, went through the garden, and after it passed through the garden, it split into 4 heads. And it says, verse number 11 says, the name of the first is Pison. That is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone, and it's just letting you know where the river goes. Some feel like it went into southern Arabia. Some say it may went into the area of Somalia. Some say it came from the area of Armenia. We don't quite really know exactly where the river came from and what it's called. Maybe there's some rivers that essentially would let us understand what's taking place, but the idea was that the river that originally arose out of Eden split into 4, and this was one of the 4, Pison. And it was a place that was actually quite rich in resources. So if you were looking for resources, this was the place to go. It was gold there. It was also the bdellium and the onyx stone, which were very valuable during that time. Then verse number 13 says, and the name of the second river is Gihon. The same is it that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. Now, when I say compass, it doesn't mean it goes around the land. I believe it means it goes through it. And the one river that comes to mind when you're dealing with going through the land of Ethiopia is the Nile River. So it's quite possibly that this river, Gihon, may be another name for the Nile River, since its location or its destination seems to be Ethiopia. Just again, these are just places that Moses had brought to the children of Israel regarding how the land of Eden was. In other words, it was very well watered. And because of that, that's why the garden was so lush. All this water, and it's going to different places around the globe. Then the 14th verse says, and the name of the third river is Hiddekel. That is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria. This river, many biblical scholars believe, is the Tigris River. And the Tigris River is actually, you can see it nowadays. It goes through the land of Iraq and towards the Persian Gulf, it meets up with the Euphrates. Now, it's something that the Tigris and the Euphrates River, they almost parallel each other. The Euphrates to the north, the Tigris to the south. And they both make their way to the Persian Gulf. And they meet at an area that is, of course, in what is now modern-day Iran. So people have been using the location of these rivers to try to find out where Eden is. And the idea here is this. If the Lord wanted Eden to be found, he would have made it easy for people to find it. So I don't worry about where Eden was. Because as I said before, many things have taken place upon this globe since Eden, including, as I said before, the flood. The flood could have actually wiped away Eden so that it would never, ever show to anyone again, that no one would ever find the location of the Garden of Eden, because the Garden of Eden would be no more. But people don't want to hear that, I'm sure. But the idea is essentially that Moses wasn't trying to have people try to find Eden, because if you read the story, you'll find out that there was a cherubim, or there were cherubim that were installed there to keep people away from the Garden of Eden. They weren't allowed there anymore. And if the flood destroyed it, then, of course, the Lord had to then transplant the tree of life. Don't know what happened to the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but that's it. Then it says, and the fourth river is Euphrates. So we have four major rivers. Even if we can't pinpoint the exact location of these rivers, understand these were four major rivers of the region in ancient times. The whole idea of why Moses put this in there is to let you know there was plenty of water. The garden was well nourished. The river, whether it flooded or not at certain times, it still brought fertility and much needed quenching of thirst of the plants and, of course, the animals, so that essentially the Garden of Eden could stay as lush as it could be. We probably don't even know how beautiful the land of Eden is or was. Maybe some people may try to visualize it on movies or whatever, but the main thing that I get from here is that God knows how to take care of his people. And so he said that my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Meaning that, yes, you have to work, but God does not add anything unto you that you cannot bear. He will not add anything that you cannot bear. Now, we may add things to ourselves, but God doesn't add it. He makes it easy for us, or easier for us, that we are able to withstand it. We are able to endure it. We are able to hold it. Even now, we can see that God has prepared this place for man to not only live, but to prosper. That's what God wanted man to do, was to prosper. After all, man was made in the very image of God. Not that man looks like God, but the things that man is capable of doing parallels what God does. God, of course, his ability is infinite, and ours is not. But we still have the capability of doing things that other animals cannot. We can create. We can build. We can alter. And we can reason to think even more. These are the things that we can do. And God keeps us and blesses us. We thank you for what you've done. Or we thank you for that you're able to be as a part of this. And our next session will be dealing with the command that the Lord gives man, which is very important. Because the Lord gives you a command, you must follow it, no matter what. And God doesn't make it too hard for us. It's up to us if we want to follow that command. May God bless you, keep you, take care in Jesus' name.